Welcome to the Q. My name is Nurse Bug. I'm your friendly neighborhood nurse surveyor.
And hi, I'm Tina Webster. I'm so glad you joined us.
Hey, y'all, it's Amanda. Thanks for listening.
Today, we're going to talk about nursing home residents, appropriate outings, and how to do it. We're going to give you some kind of successes that we know of that work really well to make sure that these outings that you do for your residents, that they're successful and they're fun. They don't have to cost a lot. They could be super simple. But it talked about how you could do group outings of an hour or two because those alleviate boredom. They spark conversations. They help nursing home residents stay connected to the community. You know, when other people are out there walking their dogs or, playing with their kids, it's just a fun time for everybody. You can go and dine out with them. You can go to galleries. You can take a walk around the block, around the facility if you can't get far from the facility. Some tips for success in this article were to check the nursing home outing policy, ensure that staff are educated and trained and ready to do the outing, whatever it might be. Make sure the residents want and are able to do the outing that you're planning. If they can't fully enjoy it and they're like, nah, I don't want to go, totally fine. You can find other activities for them or special ones just for that group of residents, that can't do certain things. It did talk about how outings are refreshing, but unfamiliar surroundings can be distressing sometimes, especially with memory problems. So dementia care activities are going to be a little different than your other residents, but I believe we're actually going to have a podcast on that sometime this year. So you'll have some dementia care activities, and we have a guest speaker for that one. That one's going to be so much fun, guys. You just want to make sure that activities are appropriate for everybody. You're going to want to make sure that you bring things that are needed, like their medications, during the times that you're going to be gone, mobility aids, undergarments, enough staff and equipment for safe transfers. You want to allow for that slower mobility, leisurely pace. Because somebody with their walker isn't going to be walking the same pace as a nurse on a sidewalk. I can tell you that. If they have a hobby, you want to tailor outings to that interest. Dog shows, botanical gardens, hobby shops, galleries. The list goes on. My favorite would be going shopping. I know some of the nursing homes that I would go into would talk about their Walmart trips, and they would love their Walmart trips.
True story, Walmart trip. It was like 2014, something like that. And those hand displays where they have like those rings on like a hand display? You know what I'm talking about? Like they have multiple rings on hand displays. Yeah, I had a resident take one of those one time. That's a true story. True.
Oh, no.
We had to go back into the Walmart. She goes, well, I didn't know. I thought it was freehand. It's like, okay, it's all good.
You're like, no, ma'am.
Sorry.
No, ma'am.
Sorry. We did buy her some rings, FYI. FYI.
What can you give me next question? Well, yeah, shopping. So regular shopping trips to, the Walmart or, whatever it might be. Make custom stops along the way because just scenery and being out of the building is going to help them inside and out, okay? Maybe senior center classes for regular outings too, so that they can kind of intermingle with community seniors.
I think a lot of people that work in the nursing facilities, they forget that the residents, they had a life when they came there. Before they came there, they did all these wonderful things, and that's what gave them joy. And just because they go into a long-term care facility does not mean that they don't want those things anymore. And I tell people, look, guys, they just changed their address. That's the only thing different that they did. They still are a person just like you and I, and they still have all these wonderful things that they want to do.
Absolutely. Like if we went out, okay, and they didn't ask me if I wanted ice cream, I would be real upset, okay? Dinner maybe? I don't know. Something. Go through a drive-thru with your big old bus, get orders. Whatever. You can play tourist and go to attractions in the downtown district, visit local festivals. You don't want to do something too big. That might be a little overwhelming for not only the staff, but the residents. But if they've done it before and it's a community thing, let them be involved. There's usually like music and there's restaurants where you can sit and eat and watch shows. Maybe you can't do those every month, but maybe every 6 months or every quarter you can do something big like that. Oh, you can go to the parks, watch and bird feed and relax. We talked about feeding the birds with bread. They like to do that. You want to choose a park with accessible restrooms, shaded seating, just for comfort, And then for lunch, you're going to note dietary restrictions. If you go out to eat with them, before you choose anything, you want to note dietary restrictions. Pick a time that's not going to be super crowded because, hearing problems with the elderly, you want to make sure they can hear easily. If they have live music and dance, accessible restrooms, and then the ability to leave whenever, so it's not like it's from this time to this time. It's just come and go as you please.
Also, remember just to be careful with the outdoors, like pay attention to the weather and the temperature and make sure your residents are dressed appropriately. Or if it's a hot summer day, do it in the mornings or late in the evenings when it's getting cool. You don't want to expose them too long to certain environmental conditions, just because their skin is so thin. And wear sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
I think Tina mentioned that the last time. Please wear sunscreen.
Yes. Sunscreen and hats. They love fancy hats. So just get a little used to that. The next one said, get spiritual. Attend services, both spiritual and social time for them. Allow for pre and post service coffee and chat, which it's what they used to do. Just like you said, Tina, before they came here, they had this life where they went to church every Sunday or, whatever it might be. And they would love that. It's something small, but it's huge. If transport via car is impossible, going outdoors around the facility, fun little strolls, just a change of scenery, how they worded it, a change of scenery delivers delight. And that's absolutely right. Before we started this, we talked about if I had forgotten anything in this outline, and the girls remind me, hey, bring some hand sanitizer and sandy wipes to ensure hand hygiene for residents and staff. Another small thing, but huge impact. The second article that I found was called 13 Ways to Plan Meaningful Outings for Residents. It talked about focusing on the seasons, trips related to the time of year. So holiday lights in December, a trip to the park in spring, pumpkin patch, hay rides in October. And the story that I had for that was I went to a facility one time and they were going on a trip to see the lights in December, the Christmas lights. And they invited us to come with. And of course, we were there to observe, that residents were seated properly and restrained properly with their seatbelts and whatnot and all that. But it was delightful and they loved it. Like they got to turn on the radio and it matched the sound and light together on some of the houses. Like people go crazy. It was like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation sort of set. Okay.
That's the next level. I'm so lucky to live in East Tennessee because Bristol Motor Speedway is right next door, right? So every year they do a children's charity. It's called Speedway and Lights. So the entire speedway is lit up with lights and it mimics the same thing. Like the lights go with the music, etc. You get to drive on the racetracks through the Coliseum. The residents loved it. That was the biggest thing to go through. It's like $10 to go through with the big bus full, or you could donate money. Oh, I loved it. Loved it. And I think, Tina, didn't you say a lot of communities will do that often too?
Like for a lot of neighborhoods.
Yeah. Like, why not? That would be so much fun. Who doesn't enjoy looking at Christmas lights?
I love it. I think the main theme of everything that I saw was think cheap. Think as cheap as you can, but cheap but fun. You want to incorporate inexpensive free trips, packed lunches, drinks, bring a cooler. Of course, you want to be regulation appropriate, but you can do that, and that's okay. It talked about cultural events like free. It talked about a free museum club for senior citizens, which I thought was hecka cool. And residents could attend different museums each month because, in each of those museums, they usually have like the volunteers that work those that can push residents along. You're not going to have a staff member for every single resident. You'll have an appropriate number for the ambulatory and whatnot, but they can help in those instances. It talked about considering familiar places. So like if it's a nursing home in a really small town, you want to look for the bakery that someone used to frequent, their old high school where they graduated from, just to be able to drive by. Or, if you can call the principal, is that who you call? And talk to them about maybe having like a meeting in the auditorium just to talk and chat and reminisce, that would be perfection. It doesn't cost anything. It said implement resident choice outings. Award residents with ability to make decisions of where to go. Look for animals like a local horse boarding company, a petting zoo where they can just enjoy and sit and watch or feed if they want to. Locate child sports clubs welcoming cheering fans like Little League, Pee Wee football games. And I think that's a wonderful
I
idea.
love that.
Yeah, I do too.
That's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, especially for those that have, family that lives far away and they don't get to see that sort of stuff. Often it would just bring such joy to them. It talks about seeking out local community pools. A lot of the pools have it's like a lift, to get them into the water. So, if you had a small group, that would be a little easier. It wouldn't be such easy for a big group, but you could do that. And then find another nursing home, AL, or senior center nearby to socialize. And you can alternate outings between the two facilities. So 1 month you'd go to their facility and the next month they'd come to yours.
That is so awesome. And you know what? The Red Hats love that Red Hat Society. They love it. They love wearing their big hats and all their jewelry. And to pair them up with another facility and trade off going from, one to the other each month. I think that's a wonderful idea.
I do
I just
too.
want y'all to know what I do if I ever get the ability to be in a nursing home. My hat and my lips and my nails and my jewelry, they're all going to match. And I just want to be the president of the Red Hat Ladies Luncheon. Please and thank you.
Gang resident council.
Yeah.
And resident council so that every month you can wear that again.
Yes.
Honey, we can talk about monthly. Honey, I plan on it every day of my life.
Oh,
That's what I plan on.
whoa. Okay. I hate putting on makeup in the morning normally. I don't know how I'm going to feel when I get a little bit older and I'm like, I'm just going to wear sweatpants today. Thank you.
I'm
just
wear sweatpants and red lipstick. Okay, sweatpants and red lipstick, please. Thank you.
My daughter tells all of her friends that when they ask about, me, her mother, she always tells them, she's just a Southern Magnolia. She wears the big hat and she has her makeup and she has her lips and her nails.
She does.
I think it's funny.
She does.
I'll be that way.
Tina,
In my
I'm
nursing
going to be you when I grow up, I promise. For our listeners, that is a large compliment because she is a wonderful lady. And I mean that.
And so sweet.
The next topic was embrace family. Include their family in trip planning, as much as they want to be a part of it. Like if a grandchild is performing a recital or playing a sport, ask if you can invite other residents to come and enjoy it as well. Because, everybody can enjoy that. The last thing it said was have fun. Fun places that they will enjoy. Bowling at the local alley, watching a movie at the local theater, or you can do it in the facility if they can't get out. You can have movie theater popcorn with lots of delicious butter. There's so many ways you can have activities that aren't outside. So a lot of facilities don't have transport big enough to accommodate everyone that might want to go. And so we would reach out to family and churches that maybe have vans, or if you require assistance with completing these outings on a volunteer basis. But of course, you'd have to follow the right protocols, the driver background checks and license. Just like with any volunteer that comes into the facility, that's all required. Make sure that the people that you're asking to help are appropriate to help. And then, Tina, you have a really fun story.
Well, at the facility where I was the DON, we had residents that we used public transportation for some of the residents that went to dialysis. And unfortunately, sometimes that is a challenge for the transportation people to show up on time, especially. This particular facility was really struggling with that. And we had a resident that he needed to go to dialysis. It was very important that he went. And so I decided that I would just put him in my car and take him to the dialysis center so that he could get his dialysis. And so we did that. And when I got back, I got in a little trouble, got my hand slapped because I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking, right? I wasn't thinking about the liability. I was just thinking about the patient. I was just thinking about the little resident.
Right. That's a hard position to be in, Tina, as a DON. You know how critical it is for that resident to be dialyzed and not miss that appointment. And then not only that, the amount of fines and penalties and citations that could rest on your shoulder just because of that transportation not occurring, right?
Right.
That's hard.
Well, the bottom line is that's what the resident needed. That's what we do, whatever we have to do to get that resident taken care of. But I did understand after,
There is
I did understand the liability. I would encourage anyone at a facility to make sure you check with your company and making sure that, hey, if you're someone that is going to be put in that predicament, you might want to go ahead and say, hey, sign me up, give you my driver's license, do all the things that you need to do for me so that I can drive the resident in an emergency situation.
Yeah. Agree.
With 50 years of experience and experts across all areas of nursing home care, Qsource genuinely understands the needs of your facility. We've always been there alongside you, and we've walked in your shoes. No matter the situation, Qsource is prepared to tackle your challenges, solve your issues, and answer your questions. Let Qsource encourage, educate, and empower you. Contact us at any time at qsource.org. We will always be here to help. And now back to the podcast.
Since I have worked with Qsource, we've had to assist a facility related to transportation, a citation. So this one was a little bit bizarre, but the facility had their own facility van, a wheelchair accessible van, just like most facilities do nowadays. The majority of them do. Their driver was driving a resident to a follow-up appointment after a surgical procedure. So this appointment, just the same, was extremely important. During that transportation, the driver was pulled over by a state trooper and failed a blood alcohol test. They tested at 0.08, if I'm not mistaken, well high above that limit. Of course, the resident was safe. Fortunately, they were strapped into the wheelchair van, and the state trooper, stopped the man or the driver, and he was arrested. There was another state trooper that came and sat with the resident while the facility staff were able to get to the vehicle and the resident. The resident did not miss their appointment, etc. But, it's very important that when you're hiring your drivers, etc., that you really pay attention to your vehicle policy, your facility vehicle policy, making sure that you pay attention to their driver's license. If they had any issues with their driver's license in the past, pay attention to that. Make sure that you hit every one of those high points as far as your facility policy goes, because if you miss one, that validates the citation. Unfortunately for this facility, this is something completely out of their hands. They had done everything right as far as their facility vehicle policy goes, their appropriate training with this individual driver, but they were still cited that immediate jeopardy because of the incident that had occurred. This driver was tested again upon when they entered jail, and their alcohol level had dropped, which was extremely consistent with the normal patterns of saturation of alcohol in your blood. So due to that, it was an immediate situation. We did come in as clinical consultants and were able to assist them in mitigating this immediate jeopardy. And once everything was said and done, the immediate jeopardy was dropped to a D-level tag, which we were super grateful for. That never, honestly, hardly ever occurs. They were only in the immediate jeopardy for the day of the incident, which this could have gone several different ways. Sometimes there are things that happen that we're not able to control, but it's how we react to them and how we follow our policies to begin with that really set us up for success when we have these off-the-wall situations occur. Always remember to please be mindful, of the liability risk, and make sure that you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to hiring a driver for your facility outings, your vans, your wheelchair vans, etc.
I almost wonder if there was that one person that noticed that he was stumbling, or he or she was stumbling, or, had the smell of alcohol and just thought, oh no, maybe I'm just hearing or seeing or smelling things.
They interviewed a lot of people and no one had noticed any abnormal behavior. That was one of the beginning investigations that we assisted them with, to make sure that anybody that was there working that day that had come in contact with him or that had clocked in that day that saw anything abnormal in this individual, because we knew that could, make or break as far as the citation continuing, for multiple days versus one day. And no one noted any abnormal behavior associated with this individual.
That's so crazy. Man. So you could do everything right, still have just a situation. Man.
Situation. Yeah. I think that's why it gets really nerve-wracking when it comes to, like Tina had mentioned before, the liability of it. So Tina, I understand from a DOM position exactly what you were thinking, because I can't tell you that I've not done the same thing, because I've transported a resident to dialysis and didn't get in trouble for it. It was in the middle of a snowstorm, and I had to. This gentleman had to be dialyzed. He was one of those patients that if he missed dialysis, like in a matter of hours, he was in a critical situation. He had to be. They canceled public transportation for that day. So, I can't say that I hadn't done the exact same thing. Fortunately, I didn't get my hand slapped and nothing happened. But I guess this day and age, we have to think about those kinds of things, where we used to not have to.
That's right. We do.
It's sweet that you would allow, take your own personal car, and it shows love and it shows the dedication to your job. And it makes me so happy that you guys are my coworkers, because that just speaks to who you are. Anyways, guys, good work. Good work. Talking about all of these different outings and whatnot, Qsource can help you find, and if need, schedule affordable transport, along with finding grants, assisting with finding that transport, finding the most reasonable, cost-effective services for outings, with staff to be able to make those outings happen. And CMS invites proposals to use CMP funds to support and further expand the national partnership to improve dementia care in nursing homes. And it involves the utilization of non-pharmacological approaches that can help with the reduction of antipsychotic meds as well. And these outings really can help engage even those that are cognitively impaired. They're worthwhile. If you need additional info or you have questions regarding CMS's federal grant opportunities, you can go to fed_CMP grant at cms.hhs.gov. And we all know that happy residents equal better quality of life, better quality of care, and better overall mental health for facility residents. So next week, guys, we're going to be talking about infection preventionists. Infection Preventionist Day is the first week of April. And we're going to talk about infection control awareness and just what they do for facilities and how important they are. Stay tuned for next week, guys. Thanks for joining the Q's Weekly Podcast for all your nursing home needs and topics. And until next time, have a great week. Say bye, guys.
See you next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Q.
Thank you for listening to this Qsource podcast. If you ever find yourself needing Qsource to assist your facility, please reach out to us at qsource.org so our long-term care experts can help you through the process. If you want to hear more podcasts like this, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your favorite audio. Just search for Qsource and you will find us. Thank you and have an amazing day.